Hi everyone, it's Narelle here. Today I'm going to be assembling the 3D Santa's Workshop SVG from My SVG Hut. You'll find that store on Etsy, and I'll put the link to the actual file in the description at the bottom of this video. It's a really nice big piece. When it's finished, it's about 15 inches in height, so it makes a really nice addition to any of your Christmas decorating pieces. So that's the finished project. I'm going to move the camera now so that I can show you the pieces that we're going to be using to put this together. So what I've got here are the 4 different sections of the workshop. I've broken it up into the pieces for the ground floor, the top floor, then I've got the roof, and then I've got the vellum that goes inside for the windows, and then the Santa's Workshop sign. Before I put this together, I'm going to take you through some steps in Design Space that just shows you some of the things that I did to get to this point here. This is a very large project in that it's got a lot of SVGs in the file. So what I actually did was I printed out a list of all the SVGs, and as I imported them into Design Space, I was able to tick them off, and that was simply just to make sure I got them all. The other thing that I did was, from the actual site where I purchased the file, is I printed out a photo of the finished project, and that's just simply to give me a bit of a guide as I'm going to make sure that I'm putting things in the right place. So there are a couple of things that I did beforehand. So as I said, now I'm going to go and take you into Design Space, and just to show you some of the things that I did just to get things to cut out in certain places, to try and conserve some paper and things like that. So that's where we'll head off now. If you want to fast forward that bit, obviously you're more than welcome to come back to the actual assembly part. So here we are in Design Space, and this is Design Space 2. Currently Design Space 3 is in beta testing, so it's possible that by the time you're watching this video it may actually be live. So these the things that I'm going to do here will have changed slightly, but the basics will still be the same. So obviously, to start the process, you need to download the SVGs from the file that you've purchased, extract them because they'll come to you usually in a zip file, so you need to extract those files so that you can then import each individual SVG. So to do that, you click the Upload Images and then the Upload Image button and browse. You need to navigate to the folder that you've saved your SVGs into, and that's this one here. So for this particular design there are 31 individual SVGs that you need to import into Design Space. So you need to do those one at a time. So basically, as I said, I printed out a list of all of these SVGs, and then I just checked them off as I imported them. So just quickly going through that process, you click on the file that you want to import, press open, and it will bring you to this screen. And because it's an SVG, you don't have to say what kind of project it is. If you're importing JPEGs or BMPs or PNGs, you have to select from simple, moderately complex or complex, but with SVGs you don't have to do that. So we've got our SVG selected, so I just click Save, and that will take me to the next screen, which shows all the not all of the uploaded, but the recently uploaded images. So looking here, you can see that I've got all the different images for this particular design, and if I click on the I button, it actually tells you the name of each of those pieces that you've uploaded. So So the next thing you would do is you would go through, once you've uploaded each of those pieces, and you would select them and you would add them to your canvas. And there are the pieces there. Now, as I said, there are 31 SVGs in this set, and when you go through the list of SVGs, you'll notice that in the notes some of them will actually say that you need to cut 2 of them or 4 of them depending on the piece. So by the time you have all of those, you end up with about 58 different pieces that you're going to be cutting out. Now that's a lot of pieces in one in one Design Space project. So what I suggest, especially while we're still using Design Space 2 and that we're dealing with Flash, having that many SVGs in one project, you're guaranteed to get shockwave crashes. So my suggestion is to break it up into different projects, and that's what I've actually done. So if you actually have a look here, and I go into my projects, and no, I don't want to save that one, but in my projects I've actually saved them into the 4 different categories. So I've got the ground floor, then I've got the top floor, I've got one that's just the vellum and the sign, and then the final one which is just the pieces for the roof. Doing it that way, it means that your projects or your files are much smaller and you're less inclined to get any crashing. So what I'll do now is I'll go and I'll open up the ground floor section. So I'm just going to zoom out here so that we can see all of the pieces on the screen, and you can see here that everything that I've got here belongs just to putting together the ground floor. So what we've got here are these white pieces which form the base of the workshop. Then we've got the front and back panels. We've got these 2 pieces here which are the side panels. This represents the bay window. We've got some supports here, and then we've got some window frames and the little piece that goes over the door here. Now when you insert these pieces, they actually come grouped in different sections. So what I'm going to do actually is just go to upload images here so I can give you a bit of an example. I'm going to scroll down to this piece here, and I'm going to insert that onto the mat. And you can see that, so that's this piece here. Now what you can see here is that the windows are actually grouped together with the side of the house. Now I don't want to cut those windows in the same color as the house, so what I've actually done is I've ungrouped them by clicking on the ungroup button, and then I'm able to move these separately from that piece there, and then I can go up here and I can just change the color of those 2 pieces, and that means that they'll then cut separately to the red piece. And we'll just try that one again. Okay, so that there. So that's what I've done with these pieces, because I wanted the windows to be a different color to the actual body of the house. So I can get rid of that piece there. Now the other thing that you have to remember when you're importing any of these pieces onto your canvas is that you need to attach the score lines to the actual piece that they're sitting on. So what you need to do to that is select that piece and go up the top here and select attach. And that means that now when that piece is sent to the mat to be cut, the score lines here will actually stay in the correct position. Okay, so that's what we've done with that one. I'm going to close that, or I don't need that piece now. And I've done exactly the same thing for this piece here, because when this piece is imported into Design Space, this piece here comes attached with it or grouped with it, and it also comes in at the same color. And again, because I want that to be a different color, because that piece is actually going to sit over the top of this, I've ungrouped, and then I've gone and changed the color, and I've made it the same color as the windows. So that's what I've done with that one. So this is the top floor of the project, and there's nothing really here that's different to what I showed you on the ground floor. Again, these pieces will come in with the windows attached to them or grouped with them, and you'll need to ungroup them if you want to cut them in a different color to the actual house pieces. So there's nothing really there different. Again, these pieces, any piece that's got score lines on it, you must remember to select the piece and go to the top here, and if attach lights up, then that means that there are pieces that need to be attached together. When you bring in any of these pieces, it will bring in one of this piece, and will bring in one of this piece, and the easiest thing to do is, because you need two of each, is to select one of them and click duplicate, and then you'll do that on any piece in the whole of the design that needs more than one of the pieces that comes in. So that's the top floor. Now we'll go to the roof. So again, when you bring these pieces in, it will only bring one of these and one of these, so duplicate those two pieces. Make sure that you go to the layers column and attach anything that needs to be attached. What I want to do though is show you this piece here. So this is the actual sloping roof pieces, and these are the pieces that go over or create the eaves. So what I want to show you is what happens when you bring those pieces in, and how I changed those pieces so that I could fit them all onto, or not all of them, but fit these three pieces onto a 12 by 12 piece of cardstock. And the reason I wanted to do that is because I was using glitter cardstock, and I really didn't want to have to waste or use three sheets of that cardstock to get these 4 images. So what I was able to do was move things around to make all of these 3 pieces fit onto one 12 by 12. So the way that I did that was like this. So I'll go and I'll bring those pieces in onto the mat. So that's this one, and these 2, and I'll insert those. So that's what I've got here. Now this is how they actually come in. Now you could, if you weren't using glitter and you weren't worried about how much cardstock you were using, you could definitely just leave those the way they are. If you go into the edit panel though, it will tell you that it's 12 or over 12 inches in width and height, which obviously won't fit on a 12 by 12 sheet anyway. You could, or you can ungroup those, and you could move them closer together, and then if I select both of those, go back to edit, I'm still unfortunately over the size that will fit onto a 12 by 12 sheet, because our maximum that we can cut on a 12 by 12 is 11.5 inches. You could cut those diagonally though. So what you would do in that case is, I would insert a square, I would change the measurements of that to 11.5 inches square. Now I'll send that to the back so that we can see these 2 on top. Now you could take these 2 pieces and select them both, and then turn them diagonally onto your sheet and you still won't get them there, but you could turn one way and one the other way. So doing that, you will actually get both of them on one sheet. But that does still waste quite a bit of, especially if you're using really beautiful cardstock like the Cricut glitter cardstock. You don't want to waste it for no reason. So what I did was, when I got to this point, I took these two pieces as far as possible to the edge of that 11.5. I didn't want to go right to the edge, but I went quite close. And then, I'm just going to move these two pieces out of the way. What I then did was I took this piece, which is the smaller of the two roof pieces, and I brought that into the mat, into that 12 by, or that 11.5 inch square, and you can see that that's all going to fit. So at that point I would select, or I'll move the square out of the way, and then I would select these three pieces. Now it's difficult to select these three pieces by dragging, and that's because of the way that this box is diagonal now. So what I would do is I go to the layers panel, and these are the three pieces that I want to select. So I'll click that one, hold down the shift key, select the next one and the third one, and now they're all selected, and I'll click attach. And what's going to happen there is that they're all going to change to the same color, which is exactly what I want, because I want to cut them all out of the white glitter. If you want the eaves to be a different color to the roof, then you don't need to worry about doing that. Just go to that step where you put these two eave pieces on one 12 by 12 sheet, or you could actually use smaller cardstock and cut them one at a time. But this is what I wanted to do, because I want them to actually all be, I want these three pieces to cut out of one 12 by 12 piece of white glitter cardstock. Now you can see when I've got it selected that the selection box is quite large, and if I go to the edit panel, it actually says that this this piece here is nearly 20 inches square, but because it's taking into account the actual selection boxes of each of those individual pieces, that's why it's doing that. But if I actually go to cut it, it doesn't actually do that. It actually just recognizes that these three pieces are going to fit on the 11.5 area, and it lets you go ahead. So that's what I did with those pieces. So I'll get rid of those, and we'll have a look and see if there's anything else I need to mention. So this is the last layer that I wanted to go through and show you, and this is the layer that is the vellum for the windows and the sign for the actual front of the workshop. What I've actually done here, again to try and conserve vellum, is I've brought all my pieces in and I've rotated them, moved them around, grouped them as close together as I could, so that I could fit as many as possible on a piece of 12 by 12 vellum. Now one of the pieces that when it comes in will be a different color, and that's the piece that's for the bay window. So I changed that piece to be the same as the rest of the window, the vellum pieces. I then did the same that I did on one of the previous layers. I put a square on my canvas. I changed it to 11.5 inches square, and then I'll move that to the back, and then I took the other vellum pieces, and then I just kept rotating and moving until I could fit them onto a that 11.5 inch area. So you can see that by doing it this way, so if I go now and I detach them, I can still move them around and fit them even better if necessary. But what you have to remember to do is, after you've got them positioned, you then need to move that square out of the way, select all those pieces and click attach, and that's exactly how they'll then cut out. If you don't attach them, when you go to cut them, they'll just force themselves onto as many pieces of cardstock or as many mats as it thinks that it needs. So doing this way, it's forced them to cut exactly how you want. For this piece here, I'll go and detach that one and I can show you what I did. This piece, when it came in, was rotated a different way, so I again grabbed my 11.5 inch square, took these pieces, rotated it to so that it would fit onto that square, and then selected them both and attached them, and that's exactly how they'll now cut out. So that's all that I needed to show you in Design Space. So now we'll go back to the assembly.